Welcome to Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, the place for you to break free from the norm and celebrate your life, because what we believe in our hearts becomes our reality. This is Magical Moments with Alena Chapman.
Welcome to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and boy, are we ready for that ease and that flow and that betterment in our life. Oh, yes, we are. So, all right. For my little magical nugget, I really had to think how I wanted to present this to you because, I want to talk about courage. Courage, that big word, courage. But, I know a little thing, a little trick maybe, a little way to think of courage in an easier way. Because sometimes when we think, I got to take that step, I got to go to apply for that new job, I've got to leave that relationship, I've got to get my act together, I've got to lose weight, I've got whatever it is. It takes courage. It really does. Anytime we want to step out of our habits, our comfort zone, our conformity, it takes courage. What makes the people who really achieve anything in life at all? Courage. So how do we get that courage? Well, I want you to try to think of this, see what you think about this concept. The more I read older literature, like Moby Dick and some other wonderful, wonderful literature that I love going back and learning. You learn so much. But I have to say, and I can't quote it totally, but in Moby Dick, when they're going out to kill the whale, there is Starbuck, the sidekick, who was saying, isn't it very Christian? And he was bringing up the Christian aspect of, isn't it terrible to go and try to capture this animal? Isn't it kind of vulgar? And Captain Ahab says, it is awful that I don't. When someone does something to me, then I have to have the fair opportunity to equal it. Now, I did not do that by quote, 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 but that was the gist of what he said. And it brings up a point that I want to bring up. And that's the point of fair play. What does that have to do with courage? Well, it's humongous. It's humongous. When you really talk to people who have made something of their life, or who have climbed the big giant mountain, who have stood at the top, who have really done, they have a sense in their mind that this world does end up with some fairness, that there is a fair play aspect to it, that, okay, I haven't been able to make money for a long time. I'm just using this as a thing. I haven't been able to make money for a long time. It's about time that starts happening. That's a fair play. Look at it. I haven't found love for a long time. It's about time that starts to happen. And all of a sudden, it changes your whole perception. Knowing that, yeah, it's time to turn the tables. It's fair play. It's my turn. It's time to make things happen. It's time for me to just do it. It's time for me to believe. Because it can't stay this way. When you have that fair play attitude or perception, it gives you the courage to say, hey, yeah, I can step out of my habit of eating chocolate cake for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just saying. So I can go look for a different kind of job. I can develop a different kind of habit. I can go on those little dating sites and look for the perfect person. I can step out. I can become the inventor, the poet, the pottery, the author. I can step out because guess what? It's time. It's time. And it's just the fair thing. It changes the perception. And I'll tell you a very big secret. When you think that way, the universe responds. It really does. It has to, because you've changed the way you see things. And for anyone who says you can't do that, look at a YouTube and go to the, I think it's called the split experiment. And it was when it's quantum physics. They were putting light, fractures of light, through slits. And there is a very simple, I think it's Dr. Quantum. He has that experiment up there, and it's perfect for lay people. But you will see in that experiment that what we expected to see, what the scientists expected to see, happened every time, even when they changed it, and it's the same experiment. What we see in our minds is what we see. So if we think the world is fair, then fairness will come back to us. And it gives us the courage, a lot more courage, to step forward into it. Try that. That's my one wonderful. And listen, we have an Ask Alena coming up. I'm going to be doing an Ask Alena next week, as a matter of fact. If you really have questions on this, or really have, hey, if you disagree, go for it. I love it because it makes me think. And I love to think. So make me think, guys. Make me think. And go to soulmanifesto.com and write in the comments, where you comment, put your question. I always get them. Soulmanifesto.com. Soul Manifesto is one word, soulmanifesto.com. And go to the comment page and just put in your question for say, this is Ask Alena. Hey, Alena, I think you're nuts about this. That's fine. We'll talk. I love it. Now, I want to talk about our guest. And this is perfect. This little nugget is going to help you with this, because I'll tell you what, she is a licensed Heal Your Life coach. She's founder of Healthy Path to Love. Ooh la la. And an expert in coaching women. And guys, I know, it's a woman coach. Yes. But guess what? We're not that different. The same fears women have going out into a relationship, the men have too. So you can listen and gain from this. Who are questioning the future of romantic relationship and whether or not they're with the right life partner. Ooh, she's going to raise little ripples. She's a creator of the Healthy Path Process, a step-by-step program that guides women on how to find their answer to the question of, should I stay or should I go? I think this one's a good one. And feel the clarity, confidence, and courage to either reconnect with their partner in a way that feels good or gracefully let go of a relationship that no longer serves its purpose. She also specializes in coaching women on how to empower themselves through the self-love and soul growth so that they can create a fulfilling life and relationships. Isn't that awesome? And with that, I am going to bring on Catherine Dietz. We're going to have a fun time. Hello, Catherine.
Hello, and yes, we are.
I love this. So this is a wonderful one. I also didn't read, but I am very interested. You were a technologist, cardiovascular. And so you also share expansive knowledge on the emotions and psychology of the heart. Now, we just had a show about how that famous scientist, Dr. Emoto, I think, was in Tokyo, who showed us how water is affected by our emotions.
Yes.
Yeah. And so here we are with the heart, which is one of our precious organs, and we're 70% water. So you, as a cardiovascular technologist, you know how when we feel like we are putting up with a toxic relationship, or when we are putting up with, when we're in a situation that doesn't serve us, that rubs us the wrong way, that puts us in a hardship every day of our life, what does that do to our heart?
Yes, it definitely affects it. It reduces its ability to function in its optimal capacity. It shrinks the vessels instead of expanding them. It causes stress. It releases stress hormones. And if you think about, that's the organ that pumps the blood throughout the whole entire body, helps us nourish our bodies, helps us get oxygen to all our cells. When we slow down that capacity by staying stuck in a situation that we're not happy with, and feed off those negative emotions, that it is definitely going to affect our physical health as well, not just our emotional health.
To prove your point, I once had a client, God love her. I really just loved her. She was a gentle spirit. She was beautiful. She worked so hard. But she was working in a very toxic environment. Her office was toxic. And to the point where people were even, 2 women had cancer in there, eventually formed cancer. And the environment in there was so heavy. And she was trying to combat it, but the pay was good. And even though she was doing such good work outside of the office, she had to go to that office every day, and she tried to take the breaks. She tried to fill her time with music. She tried to up it, but the heaviness. And do you know what? She ended up getting very sick within 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. It truly is. And the Heal Your Life work that I was trained in too, Louise Hay talks to that point very, very beautifully in terms of how the different...
Louise Hay of Hay House, yeah.
Yes. They affect our bodily functions as well.
Oh, everything.
Mm-hmm.
If we talk about that water, what did she say? There's different... anger affects our... you'll have to listen. Anger affects our heart. Sadness affects our liver. There's actually, in the Tokyo Chinese-Japanese learning of growth, they see this. They see how our emotions affect different organs. Now, so with this, now you have suddenly switched over into, you went from a cardiovascular technologist to all of a sudden you're helping people all of a sudden find their path and figure out what was the switch? Find out if they're with the right partner and how to leave.
Right.
Yeah. What happened there? There's something there.
Yeah. Okay, instead of helping people heal their hearts from the outside, I help them heal their hearts from the inside.
I like that.
It's an inside job for sure.
Yeah.
So that environment was great in many, many ways, but it was also very, very stressful and toxic. And it started to have an effect on my overall well-being and health. But while I was at the hospital working in that environment, I was introduced to Healing Touch, which is a very natural form of helping people heal. And so that was kind of the beginning of my path of going in a different direction. And then I just kind of naturally fell into the path of Heal Your Life and was looking at all the benefits of spirituality and self-growth and learning to love and accept yourself. And it just kept on opening more and more doors to what was feeling good for me.
And tell me, because
your heart.
All this, there's so many of us who saw this. I call it seeing a light in life, and I lost the light, and then I experienced the contrast, which was awful. I experienced the stress. I experienced the expectation of me. I experienced giving up what I loved to do what I supposedly was supposed to do. I experienced all this. I lost the magic, and then I decided to get it back. And I went through all the things like you did, finding my way, finding different ways to get it back consciously. But for so many people, I don't think... Can you explain what it felt like every step of the way when you started to go on your path to a more natural, to a more healing, to self-love, to self-acceptance? What did that feel like for you?
It felt like such a difference in the way that I was feeling before, because I was so stressed out. I was not feeding my soul, and so I wasn't happy. I wasn't vibrant. I wasn't feeling well. And then when I was introduced to Healing Touch, and this part of me within me just spoke up like, yes, it just felt so good that I couldn't help but be attracted to it. I couldn't help but well, let me look into this a little bit more. And to your point earlier that you made about fair play, and I can step out of this bad habit and I can step into a new habit.
Yes.
That's kind of what it was when you were saying that. I was like, oh, yes, I totally get this, because I need to step out of this pattern that is just sucking the life out of me.
It's time. It's time for me to feel good. It's fair play. I felt rotten. Now it's time to feel good. Exactly.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, I love it. When I started to get back into what I call the magic, the light, the feeling, just the love from who I am and everything about me and what I bring to this world, I think what it did was I don't know, I felt like freedom. I felt every step brought me closer and closer to freedom. And the heaviness left me. And it happens in little ways, folks, like the toxicness. You know, you don't find yourself filling yourself with, I still have my wonderful vice for 3 times a week. I get a Diet Coke 3 times a week, which is wonderful for me. But everything else, the way I eat, the way I listen, what I listen to, what I allow in my life for a certain amount of time, if it's not fitting me, I change it. How I nourish myself now. And it feels good. And it helps me to be more to other people, more patience, more giving, more truly caring, more getting to know the person. I'm able to now have the resources within me and the power within me to share that light everywhere. Don't you find that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is a wonderful thing. So, okay, I know a lot of women and men who come to us or come to Bob Proctor or Les Brown or anybody else that I know very well, that they come there and they want to, I want to change my life. I want to be the best. I want to self-love. I want to experience that everything. And yet they go home and they're still in that toxic relationship, especially women. Women will stay in a toxic relationship forever. I don't get it. And then, but also men. Men have toxic relationships, but we also have toxic jobs. They go back to the toxicity and they don't see the connection, how that's affecting them.
Right.
How do we help them to see that connection? And how does that really drain them with all the good work they're doing?
Right, absolutely. Well, I think especially after going to an uplifting talk, seminar, weekend retreat, whatever it may be, and you're feeling really good and you're feeling really aligned with yourself, when you go back to a toxic environment, even if you're used to it, even if you're familiar with it, I think you're still going to feel the difference. You're going to come back feeling really good and high on life. And then you hear people just like coming back from vacation, then I had to come back to this, and now I feel depressed again. Like you'll feel some kind of shift. And so to be aware of your feelings really is so much of what this is about. Like listen to what your body is telling you, feel the tension, listen to the feelings that are coming up. And so going back to that toxic environment and knowing that you don't feel a connection with your partner, to start stepping out of that pattern, start stepping into the fair play that you mentioned earlier, and recognize that these relationships are designed to help us feel connection with someone else. And when we feel disconnected from the person that we are in a committed relationship with, and we're going to feel disconnected from ourselves as well, because it goes against our natural, innate awareness around having love in relationships.
You brought two of my favorite points to play there. One of them was listening to yourself, the intuition, and believing it. And then the second thing was understanding about relationships, the real story about relationships and what it is that we're here to do. But let's start with that intuition, because so many times we think, okay, the job is how I make my money. I make lots of money. Or this relationship, I've been with this person forever. And now all of a sudden I'm going to say I'm unhappy. And what is this about me? Why have I changed? Or we blame it on ourselves. You know what I mean? Right. There's a lot of guilt. Why am I now unhappy when all this time I've been with this person? And why am I, why can't I stay in this job until I just get my pension? Why can't we listen to ourselves and stop questioning and blaming ourselves for not wanting to be where we are?
Right. It's a great question. And I feel that it has so much to do with the patterns that we've created in our lives, or that other people have helped us create for ourselves about the beliefs that we have about, hey, just stick it out. You make good money. It pays the bills. At least you have a job. You're lucky. Like, just stick it out. Or the relationship. Well, he doesn't beat you, or he hasn't cheated on you. He's
oh
not
my God, I hate that. Yeah.
Right?
He doesn't beat you, so you're fine.
Right. Well, it could be worse. I hear that a lot. Well, it could be worse.
Oh my God.
It could be better too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Since when do we have to settle for so-so in anything? Why?
But so many of us have been conditioned like this. Well, you're lucky that you even have a relationship, so just suck it out, suck it up. And
oh my God.
Don't, or he's a good man and he's already got so much on his plate, so don't bother him with this stuff. See if you can just, let it go.
Does this sound familiar, everyone out there? We do, and we believe them. Our friends tell us, and we believe them.
Yes.
It's way back.
It's really familiar. Yep.
It is. It's that conformity. Don't shake the boat. Don't rock that boat. We'll all fall we'll fall into the ocean if you rock that boat. I remember I worked through Right Relations here in my area of Indiana, and it was it was classes that went through the court. If you didn't play nice in court, you ended up with us. And we were a 16-week program, and I taught in 3 counties. It's actually how I got my start. And when the stories I heard about how this was not fair. This was not fair that I'm getting divorced. This is not fair that this marriage didn't work. When you get married, you marry for good. I heard that. Well, okay, that's one that I hear all the time. And I heard other things that I don't understand why I can't change that person.
Right.
Isn't that an interesting thing?
It's very interesting. And the stay married for good thing, the point that I always bring that usually helps people have a different perspective on that is most people, when they commit to a marriage or just to commit a relationship, period, it doesn't even necessarily have to be marriage, they're committing to love. They're committing to a healthy, loving relationship. So when the relationship starts to be unhealthy and neither partner does anything about it and it just keeps on getting more and more and more unhealthy, then that's not what you committed to in the first place. So were you committed to just staying married no matter what and having the certificate of marriage, or are you committed to staying in a healthy and loving relationship? And
I love that. That's an excellent answer. That's excellent.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's very interesting, and I think we lose that sight. So how do we get ourselves into this thinking? And what are the first steps? Because I really think that we get lost in what we hear. We grow up in one way. We grow up knowing, oh gosh, when I was a kid, those dumb fairy tales, we had those. I love Snow White because she was the only brunette. Everybody else was, Cinderella was a blonde. Everybody was blonde. Now I see they have a redhead. That's nice. But,
yes.
It was like the world was ruled by blondes, and I was always very Italian looking and dark hair. Yes. So Snow White was my most lookalike fairy tale. And you never knew this person, and all of a sudden love just came, and she didn't even know who this guy was, but he kissed her alive again, and then they went off. And I always said to my mother, what happens now? And she says they live happily ever after. I said, okay, what does that mean? We never saw that there was no. We're not taught what a real relationship looks like.
Right.
We're not taught about what real love, what loving relationship, only from what we see. So what we see is what we emulate in our own life. Correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you're seeing an unhealthy pattern at home, an unhealthy relationship with perhaps your parents, then that's your role model. That's something that you're in your environment every single day. And then on the flip side, you're seeing these fairy tales of all that has to happen as the prince comes along and takes you away from all your problems. Then, that is literally teaching the brain or the mind to believe that it's one or the other. It's either you're miserable or you're in bliss 100% of the time.
And to think that somebody else can fix all your problems. Isn't that a horrible thing to load them down with?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm getting involved with you because you can save me. Oh my God. That's like,
Right.
I'd say, oh my God, that's too much.
Yes. But that's what happens so much. Somebody comes along and makes you feel so much better about yourself. And that's where it begins, is if you don't already feel good about yourself, if you don't already have that self-love and acceptance, and somebody comes along and adores you in such a way that actually reminds you how lovable you are, it feels like heaven. It's like, oh my God, this person makes me feel this way.
Yeah, completes me. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it comes crashing. See, when we don't, I firmly believe this, and you can either agree or disagree with me, Catherine, of course, but I really feel that if we don't learn to at least accept every part of ourselves, on that way to love, to really fully saying, world, this is who I am. And I'm working to grow, but this is where I am right now. And I love where I am because everything that's happened to me has made me who I am. And now I'm going to grow from here. Always growth, guys, always growth. It's evolution. But if we don't do that, then we're setting ourselves up for so many different situations, such as the person who really makes us feel really good and then changes overnight into a narcissistic person, So
and then we think it's our fault. We're
going to take a break right now, let people sit with that and come back. And I want to hear your answer, Catherine, on that, because that's big. And you're listening to Magical Moments. I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and we are discovering how we are responsible for those toxic relationships we bring in our life. Ooh, that hurts. I'll be right back.
Welcome back. You're listening to Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, helping you find ease and betterment with every episode. Download more on your favorite podcast platform. Now, here's Alena.
Welcome back to Magical Moments. I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and we are bringing that ease and betterment into your life. This new awareness of relationships and ourselves is big. Are you in that toxic relationship? Are you living that with your parents, your siblings, your partner? Okay, here we go. So, Catherine, I asked you a question, or I kind of made a statement, a proclamation about how if we are not loving ourselves, or at least accepting ourselves for who we are at this moment, always wanting to grow, a caveat right there, but how does, and we're looking for that person to complete us or save us or our better half or whatever. We have this person come in to our lives. Doesn't that set us up as don't you find that's like perfect ground to fertilize narcissism or people who would take advantage of that place we're putting ourselves?
Absolutely. And when and of course we have to be aware of this, because if we're not aware of it, then we can't really do anything about it. But when we literally hand over our happiness to someone else, he makes me feel happy. She completes me, whatever the statement is, we are literally handing our power over to somebody else as to whether or not we're happy. So loving and accepting yourself, the point you made right before the break, along the way, even if you're not exactly where you want to be, even if there's still things you want to change about yourself, it's still okay to accept yourself as you are. And the beautiful thing about relationships, especially the intimate ones, is they will teach you what you still need to grow in. They will teach you what wounds you still need to heal within yourself. So someone may come along and make you think that you're the greatest thing ever, and then when they don't, when they change their mind or they're in a bad mood or they're not getting their needs fulfilled and they make you feel less of yourself and you drop to the bottom of, oh my God, I'm horrible and they don't love me anymore, there must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
That is an opportunity for growth. That is an opportunity to say, how can I fill myself up so that I don't fall so hard when someone isn't there loving me 100% of the time? We can't rely on other people to make us feel good about ourselves. They're just icing on the cake, is what I like to say.
Yes. Yeah. And when you feel good about yourself, then all of a sudden you enter into a relationship and you're equal. You can support each other It's not up to that person to always support you. There are going to be times when they don't feel good, or that they are under stress, or that that's when you rise to help them, and vice versa. They rise to help you. It's a dance. But to do that dance, you have to be okay with you. You have to be always helping yourself to grow, so that you can meet that dance equally, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is the thing, when we are looking for that so-called prince, or that, men usually haven't been brought up to see the woman riding in on a white horse. Taking them away to a better place. They were the one on the white horse all the time. All right, but sometimes it does go vice versa. We get into this, if we don't feel good about ourselves, guys, I'm telling you, I've seen it over and over and over. You get into this relationship where, oh my gosh, I'm a woman, so I'm going to use myself as an example. So you get into this relationship with this man who just showers you. Oh my gosh, he showers you with flowers or gifts all the time. It's in the chase. He loves you, la la la. He's just all over the place. And then when you get to know each other, it switches. It's like everything just switches. And if you are not feeling good about who you are, now, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes the guy lavishes you because he really does love you, and you do go off on that horse and live happily ever after. However, sometimes it's just all of a sudden he switches or she switches. And they get a little bit insecure. They start bringing in their insecurities into the relationship. Do you see? And if you're not strong enough, you'll get mowed over. You'll get confused. You'll feel unloved. You won't be able to stand your ground. The insecurities cause you to question yourself. That happens over and over. Catherine, what do you do when someone finds themselves, they love this person because, gosh, it's so much fun when you're out there. And sure, they love the gifts, and sure, they love the life they have. But what happens when they change? What do I do now?
Right, absolutely. So, of course, everybody loves to be adored. That initial attention that we receive and give from each other just feels so good. And then as time goes on, as you said, certain insecurities get triggered, or somebody's in a bad mood one day and they snap, and it's just like, whoa, what happened? And most people kind of react from that feeling of pain. I must not be good enough. I must not be lovable anymore. I must have done something wrong. When what we have to recognize, and what's really, really helpful, is when someone is reacting and lashing out at you or acting very differently than they normally do, that's about them.
Yes.
Possibly you did something that may have triggered something with them, but that's not your fault. That doesn't make you a bad person. When they react, that's about their internal conditions. That's about their internal patterns of where they operate from and how they believe. So it's hard not to take things personally, especially when it's somebody that is usually very loving to you, but to just really recognize this isn't personal. This is about them. And then to be able to come back to it later on when there's not the tension and the anger and the heat in that moment, and speak up for yourself in a really loving way, especially if it's a pattern. If it's just a one-time thing that never happens again, depending on what it is, of course, then it may not need to have a conversation about it, but that's pretty rare. These things will typically come up again and again.
Sure. Because if we don't work on our insecurities, they come up. I call it the popcorn effect. And because they come up like popcorn, and whoops, there it goes. My insecurity just showed. It's like popcorn. Could you give us a great example, or an example that of people what is living with a toxic relationship? What is that really? Because everybody who is ever having a problem calls it a toxic relationship. Not all relationships are a toxic relationship. What is it?
Right. So I think it really narrows down to your own personal beliefs, but most people absolutely believe in honesty, respect, being loving, healthy communication. So if those things aren't going on, if someone's not being honest, if someone's disrespecting you, if someone's saying, oh, you're making a big deal out of nothing, or you're too sensitive, or
discounting you.
They're not right. If they're not acknowledging, they might not have to agree with you, but if they're not acknowledging where you're coming from and saying, okay, I hear you. What can we do about this? And they're just saying, that's your problem, not mine. You're always the one that has the issues. That's very toxic. If they're not willing to respect where you're coming from, they don't have to agree. There's a big difference there. If they're not willing to respect, in my opinion, that is a huge sign of toxicity.
Yeah,
and then whatever your personal values are.
Yeah, I know some people would love a mini me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Somebody who likes everything I like, and oh yeah, you like vanilla ice cream too, and it just it's not that way. Yeah.
No. But the differences teach us about ourselves too. And if the differences trigger us, then what's that about? We don't have to agree on everything. But
that's something to look at. Yes.
Right.
If you have to have somebody who always agrees with you, well, my dear, it's time for you to take a look at that one.
Right. Agree on the things that really matter to you in terms of what is the purpose of the relationship, why are we in this together, and what are our values when it comes to knowing whether or not we're connected.
You have to know your own values. You really do. And that's not whether they have blue or green eyes. That is way down. What is it that you really require? That really is the bottom. Do you want love and respect or caring, supportive? What is it that you really want to grow that relationship? You have to know that, or you're just kind of slinging from the hip. And I think you owe it to yourself but that's part of the self-acceptance and the part love, because you're not going to settle for anything left. That's part of the process. Right. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
You have to do the work, guys. You got to do the work. Or you're two people coming together with all the baggage. And that's bound to have a collision. You know, you either rely on each other to fix each other's baggage, or you're always bringing in the baggage into a relationship that's neutral. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And I use the analogy, too, of if you're starving for love, if you're not giving that to yourself or finding ways to feel lovable for yourself,
you won't feel his love or her love.
You're going to take whatever food is given to you. You're going to go straight to the cheeseburger from McDonald's instead of the healthy salad from Jimbo's, because you're starving. So I'll take whatever I can get because I'm so hungry. So fill your own soul first, and then when someone comes along, like I say, they're icing on the cake. Like, you create your own cake. Life is sweet. And then other people just get to put the icing on. But when the icing's taken away, the cake still tastes good.
Yes. And there is a difference, folks. And if you are really, really hungry, you settle for everything. And the problem is, when you settle for anything, then you fall victim to the false love. And that's where the problems happen. That cheeseburger, like we said, the cheeseburger isn't real. It's not nourishing. Right. It's not going to last the test of time. Yeah. So we kind of if we get ourselves into this toxic relationship and we don't feel the support and love, and a lot of us live that way. I mean, I don't know how many people stay in relationships for whatever reason. Sometimes they stay for money. Some stay because they're scared. Some stay because their parents say, this is it. This is marriage. We stay forever. And we're not just talking about marriage, any kind of relationship. How can we get ourselves over that fear that there's a life afterwards? We don't feel there is. We need to get that courage. And everybody's scared of the unknown. How am I going to survive is one of the big ones. How am I going to survive when I leave this relationship, especially if I've been in it for 12, 20 years?
Right.
How do I take that? Yeah, God, I don't even know what's out there. I can't survive out there. He has all the money, or she has all the money. How am I going to get out? What am I going to do? Well, I don't want to be alone my whole life. All these unknowns come up. Do you see what I'm saying? And so they say, well, it's better to stay where I am.
Right, absolutely. And that's a lot. Like, a lot of people say, well, after being in it for 20 years, it's really hard to leave. And it's like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Absolutely. You've invested the time. You've invested the effort. Like, oh, I can't leave now. I've put all this time into it. It's like, okay, well, think about the next 20 years of your life. Do you want the next 20 years of your life to be the same as the last 20 in which you've been unhappy and just compromising your fulfillment because you don't know if you can have something better? Aren't you worth finding out? And the alone thing that you pointed out, like, oh, I don't want to be alone. A lot of people who are in a relationship are still alone because they don't have that connection.
They don't see it. And that's very true. You know, when I was in my marriage at the time, I started looking, Catherine, that's one of the things that struck me. I looked around and I thought, my God, most of the time I'm alone. Why? I'm not going to be any more alone than I am now. I'm raising the kids. I'm taking care of the house. I'm taking care of everything here. I'm alone. Yeah. Getting divorced was not much different, actually.
Right. And the whole surviving thing in terms of financial, if your husband or partner is the one who provides financially, that's definitely a very common obstacle as well.
It is.
At least start taking steps to empower yourself. Meet with a financial advisor. Most financial advisors will meet with you for free and show you how to budget and show you how to figure that kind of stuff out so you know what you need. At least start taking steps in that direction, and it may take a while. And some people go, well, yeah, but it'll be 5 years before I can do anything, so why bother?
Gosh.
Again, but you still got 30, 40, 50 years of your life left. So isn't it worth at least taking steps in your direction and then just trusting that the universe always, always, always provides, but you have to show up for yourself. You have to say yes to what it's giving to you. So if you just stay where you are and say, well, I don't know what's on the other side, so I'm not even going to try.
Oh, my gosh.
See it.
What's on the other side is what you can create, folks.
Yes.
What's on the other side is you. It's you. And I think that fear, I know, I saw it so much in Right Relations. And really, all you have to do is take the baby steps, walk through that door, and you create it. If you want to make more money, guess what? You can do it. If you want to find another love, you can do it. You can do it. But you will never know if you stay in your prison.
Right.
And it really is, whether that's a toxic job or a toxic person. But, I mean, you have to think. I don't know about you, but I don't like to tiptoe my whole life. I don't like to feel that I'm going to set someone off. That's not fun. I don't like to go home and feel like my home is not my home because I have to be so careful about everything I do, what I cook or what, I know people that live that way. And it might not be abuse, but it might be very toxic. It might be putting you down. It might be putting the heavy on you. Do you need that?
Emotional abuse.
Emotional abuse, yeah. And I think emotional abuse is worse than anything. And it's very insipid. It's very insipid because it comes at when you least expect it. And that creates that so-called carefulness, that tiptoeing. And that's no way to live, folks. No way to live. If you're living in that kind of situation, take steps, find a guru, get support. Support that is support, not someone who's going to tell you to stay. Support that'll help you to start accepting yourself. You got to get strong. Start to get strong within yourself so that start with gratitude. I know it sounds silly, but start with it anyway. And then take the baby steps to begin to form your life and leave. That's all I need to say on that one. Because that's no way to live. That's extreme toxic.
Right.
And Catherine, what do you say? How do you think they can get the strength to leave in that?
Yes. So again, when you are just feeling like, I love the example of like when you don't even want to go home, like really that's your home. That's supposed to be your, place.
Sanctuary.
To relax and be at peace. Sanctuary. Yes. Thank you. That's a perfect word for it. So when you're not feeling that, when you're afraid to go home, when you're afraid of what arguments might happen or explosions or whatever, to really start going within and tapping into that power within you. One thing that's really, really, really helpful, and it helped in my cardiovascular career, was recognizing that you have this intelligence within you that's beating your heart, that's breathing your breath, that's digesting your food, that's doing all these things that you are not giving direction to. So literally, that is your soul. That is your divine intelligence doing all these things that are giving you life without any direction from you, although it is affected by your emotions and your thoughts, for sure. So to recognize that that power is literally within you and how powerful that is, and go, okay, well, how can I use this power to pay attention to my feelings? Because I'm pretty sure these feelings are here for a reason. When I feel good, that's a sign that things are aligned with what I believe in. When I feel bad, when I feel angry, when I feel depressed, that's a really good sign that things are not aligned with what I believe in. So how can I look at that? What can I learn from this? What beliefs have I been holding on to since childhood that don't apply to me anymore because that's all I learned?
Isn't that
Maybe
the truth?
I should start reading some new things, listening to some new podcasts, learning from people that inspire me. And I want to feel that good. I want to feel aligned with myself. How can I do that? Be curious. We don't have to be serious about it either. And I used to be like, I got to figure this out. I got to do this right. Okay, I'm learning all this stuff. Like,
they make it so hard.
Yes. Just be curious. Just be fascinated.
Curious and fascinated. I love that. Those are two of the best. I think being curious is one of the most wonderful things in the whole wide world. When I was growing up, they always said, the nuns I'd always say, I want to figure that out. I was always a very curious kid. I was always doing these little science experiments. Oh my gosh. I remember one time I had spider eggs in my room. When they hatched, my mother had a fit. I was always curious. And the nuns would say, remember, curiosity killed the cat. And I was so happy when I got older and I could reply, but satisfaction brought it back.
That's right.
Curiosity is learning. Curiosity feeds always looking for the betterment. Curiosity feeds the what ifs, the imagination, the good what ifs. Curiosity is beautiful. Just have curiosity. Stop taking everything so darn serious. You will. If you want to get out of that relationship, you will. But have the curiosity to just look at how. Look at the different options. Just try. Just try. That's all it takes.
Believe in yourself and that feeling of not feeling like you have to fix yourself. There must be something wrong with me. I need to
gosh, no.
It's a very common thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with you.
You don't need to fix yourself. You just need to be open to what your soul is trying to tell you.
You just want to evolve. We're here to evolve. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with you. I think we all are on this thing that we have to fix others too. And for the person who wants to fix the other person, oh my gosh, I can't. What do you say about that?
Yeah, you can't fix other people at all. They have to want to heal themselves. They have to want to change themselves. You can certainly help them along their path if they ask for it.
If they ask.
But when you're telling somebody what they should and shouldn't do and they're not asking for it, you're just feeding to the pattern of you're not good enough. So I'm going to tell you how you can be good enough because I know better than you do about your life.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. I think there's a little golden rule that I have for myself, if anybody's interested. And I think, when I enter into a relationship, I'm looking for a relationship that I feel I am truly myself. I can be myself, and I can be comfortable being myself with that person. And, just me, just totally me. And I want that person to feel that way with me. And then the friendship forms. And from there, we grow into the relationship. I think that is one of the best ways to bring, because you're finding someone who accepts you for you, every part of you, and you're accepting them. Mm-hmm. And isn't that what it's really all about?
Yes.
That's really love. Love is acceptance. Love is seeing the good in everyone. And that partner of yours. I think if you follow that, you're not going to choose wrong. Because you listen to yourself. If you're with someone and you're always acting kind of weird and you never feel yourself feeling comfortable, that is not the person for you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that goes back to that point that you made earlier that we talked about too, about accepting yourself along the way. Because if you're still rejecting parts of yourself, if you're still mad at yourself for something from the past or not forgiving yourself or whatever it may be, if you're still rejecting parts of yourself, then you are absolutely going to attract relationships that are going to shine the light on what parts of yourself you don't like anymore.
Catherine, you know what? I think I have time for this short story. When I was teaching in Right Relations, that's where I dealt with a lot of relationship stuff because they were all coming from divorces. So I remember I had the husband in one class, or the husband to soon not be, and the wife in the other. And the wife was very boisterous in her class. And she's all about how he's cheating and la, la, la. And oh, my God, every Saturday morning I hear it. But then on Tuesday night, I'd have him, and he just didn't click. I've seen a lot, and he didn't fit anything. He actually really loved her. And so I went up and I said, what is going on? Why are you guys really getting divorced? And he told me, he goes, well, she thinks I cheat, and he's the one that filed. And I said, well, why did you file? And he said, because she was ruining my life. She was, every time she called every woman in the office. And I have secretaries leaving and everything because of it. I had clients leave because she made such a voice that I was cheating. He said, I love my wife, but I cannot live that way. Isn't that interesting? And when I went back on that Saturday morning and she started up, I said, hey, so what is it why do you think he's cheating? And she just got really quiet. And she said, well, men cheat. Oh, this was big. And I said, yes, but why is he cheating? She said, I just think he is. I said, okay. I said, have you ever had a man cheat on you? And she said, they all cheat. My mother says that. Oh, my God. Does everybody see the writing on the wall?
Yes.
There was a belief in her. She had brought baggage into every relationship of her life that her mother instilled in her. And no man, no matter how much he loved her, no matter if she found that perfect love or not, she could not see it because of the baggage of all men cheat in her mind. How many times do we let the baggage dictate what we see in that relationship? It's big. It's very big.
Yeah, absolutely. And those beliefs are so instilled. And so when we look at our beliefs, if they don't feel good to us, when you think about something that you believe in, if it doesn't feel good, you got to ask yourself, where did this come from? Do I still believe it? And I have the opportunity to change my mind about this belief if I want to. If I want to feel better about this particular area of my life, I can change my belief about this.
So really, everyone, you're going to love this, but it really does come down to you. You are this incredible being. You truly, truly are. And it's time to start loving it, accepting it, getting rid of the things that don't serve you, respecting it, and saying, I really deserve that right partner. Don't you agree, Catherine?
Absolutely, yes.
And how can people find out more about you?
I'd say the easiest way would be to go to my website, and it's healthypathtolove.com.
I like that.
And yes, that's the easiest way. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook with that same name.
I love that. I love that. So everyone out there, have the courage. Have the courage to look at yourself and see. Don't put yourself down. This is not woe is you day. This is a day that I say, look at the good things I have and look at the things I'm going to evolve into what I want. Yeah, no, I don't want to have my mother's belief that all men cheat, or I don't want to have my father's belief that, I don't know, whatever it could be. Whatever you're carrying with you, just, is it time to give that up? Is it time to believe that we'll know when that right person comes, and that we can be comfortable with ourselves and bring our very best to that relationship, and expect that other person's going to bring their very best? It's all questions, but it's all baby steps. And also, guys, to get that inner peace in yourself so you can do the introspection, on very soon I'm launching, in the first month of this July, I'm launching this 7-day course to gain your inner peace. And it's free. Just go to soulmanifesto.com and sign up, and you'll get really cool ways to get that inner peace so you can do the introspection without all the criticism. But most of all, I also want to say, leave comments and questions on the comment page of Soul Manifesto, because I'm sure you have comments about this. But most of all, glorify in who you are. It's time. Stay connected to yourself, stay connected to others, and stay connected to Source. And remember, spirit is love, and love is spirit. Okay, everyone. Namaste.
This has been Magical Moments with Alena, featuring Alena Chapman. If you missed an episode, download it now on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, CastBox, Deezer, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast platform. Learn more online at soulmanifesto.com.
Podcasts by Federated Media.